Here's a quick overview of the projects recently completed in the last few years. And so I'm sure you've seen these when you're out and about on campus. So the Maverick Stadium is a new restroom project that it was much needed. And it also has wonderful all gender restrooms and lactation spaces for people. We also did some ADA improvements so that those in a wheelchair can be in with the student section instead of being relegated to the top row. The Canyon Crest Residence Hall is a beautiful new housing project. It has about 300 beds plus or minus. Housing continues to be at 100% full with high demand and waiting lists. So we're trying to do as much housing as we possibly can right now. IT Services Building is brand new. And then the Adams Equine Human Service Arena is a really cool project out on South Farm where they're working with horse therapy, mostly for veterans or those with PTSD. So it's pretty interesting research they're doing. And then the new Moab Academic Building in Moab, the first on the new campus, and also the first net zero energy building that we have. So those are all pretty cool projects. All right, now we'll just move into current construction projects. I'm going to try and make up a little time here. You've probably seen the construction over by Old Main for the new Mehdi Harabi Global Teaching and Learning Center. Beautiful new building that's going to house the languages department within CHAS. We also did some additional improvements around this project with a little addition of parking on the west side and then an improvement to the road so that road intersection will be a lot safer for students and a lot easier to manage. So that one is scheduled to be completed this summer. So we'll be hopefully seeing that available for use in the near future. Right, next slide, thanks. Okay, this one's also under construction. It's the Nima Wanlis Art Education and Research Center. It's on the west side of Fine Arts. It's kind of unique because it's actually part of the museum and will not have a tie through to the rest of Fine Arts. It just has its own entrance on the outside. It was funded with donations and grants, and it's going to be completed in 2025. Kind of a unique function here where they have multi-purpose classrooms, and then they have kind of interactive collection storage where they can pull pieces together quickly for research projects or for viewing for anybody who has requests for seeing parts of the collection that they would like to see. It's just, it makes the collection a lot more accessible. All right, next slide. This project is not our project, but it is affecting our campus with the new construction of the Institute by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And you probably have noticed it's their fence line along the edge near the TSC. We've been working closely with them to minimize impacts to students, but it is a pretty big project and it's going to be going on for another year or so. All right, next slide, thank you. This is the South Campus redevelopment area. It's probably the largest and most ambitious project I've seen in terms of kind of working in redeveloping a whole section of campus. It's the area where we took down the 3 dormitories and are replacing, basically we took 3 small buildings that are replacing with 3 large buildings. And it's very tight. This was a project in master planning that we really focused on, in fine detail to make sure that we got this right for all the needs of campus today and in the future. So I'll talk a little more about these specifically. Actually, before you go, can I just mention one other thing? Because it doesn't show on the other side. We are going to change the access point that's over by Fine Arts and Engineering a little bit further west, which will make it a much safer intersection. It will still connect back to that area, also connect to the new parking terrace. All right, this is a beautiful new building, the Kim and Carolyn Gardner Learning and Leadership Building. This was funded, it's a $29 million project, or, oops, I think I made a mistake on that. It's not 42 million, it's 29 million, and it was funded partially with donations and then partially with capital development funds through the state. And so the construction completion is April of 2025, and it's well underway. You've probably seen the hole in the ground that's starting to come out. We are posting some things on social media on this, so you can kind of keep up with it there. So this will house the experiential learning centers for the Huntsman School of Business. And it's actually the first building that we've ever done at USU that uses a mass timber component. So it's a new kind of very sustainable type of construction type, which uses large timber to basically for the structural and also for the aesthetics. So I think it'll be quite beautiful. All right, that brings us to the South Campus Residence Hall, another one of those 3 projects we talked about. This budget is 44 million, and it's 112 gross square feet. Has a 306 beds. This is about a 40% increase on the bed count that we had originally for those 3 buildings we demoed. Again, we see housing is being filled as fast as we can build it. It's an apartment style, so similar to what was there with small kitchens in each unit. And it is also coming up out of the ground right now, scheduled to be completed in August of 25. And they will arguably have the best views on campus, so. All right, the South Campus Parking Terrace. This project is one that was just awarded, and it will sit in between the 2 buildings, and it will serve both. It will serve mostly housing, but we will have a component to serve the rest of the commuters, including the ones at business, but not just business. About 343 stalls. And as I mentioned, we have this new access point. And it will start ASAP, probably in the next month or so. And we're working hard to provide parking while creating an aesthetically beautiful structure. All right, next one. So this is the EVR Aspire project. It's out on the Innovation Campus, currently under construction. It's a 30,000 square foot addition, and then the track will be enhanced. This is a really, really interesting area of research for the university, where they're looking at, they're exploring options for roadway charging for electrical vehicles. And they have a lot of partners, international partners, and this research is getting a lot of recognition and attention internationally. So that brings us to the SEER renovation. Maybe some of you have noticed since IT moved out, there's a lot of empty space in there. We did recently just get this funded through capital development funding through the state, 4.2 million to renovate about 13,000 square feet in that building. And yeah, computer science will be moving out of Old Main, out of the 4th floor and into this building. We'll consolidate them with our College of Science, the primary occupants of this building. So I think it's going to be a beautiful new space. It's going to have a lot more space for students, which they have basically 0 space for students right now. So, and it's one of the fastest growing programs on campus as far as academic programs. All right, and then stuff that you don't really see that much, but the new tunnel extension is this section that runs basically from the business building out to the new housing. You go back to one. Thanks. So this one is about $7 million, and we do this just basically to support the new project so that they have all the utilities available in this part of campus. And every time we do new projects, we try to continue to extend our tunnel infrastructure. The eventual goal is to connect it up with where it ends here by Fine Arts. So the next section, the next phase of development, when we replace Merrill, we'll likely be able to do that. Doing pretty good for time here. All right, that brings us to projects and design. And I'm going to let Katie take this one.
Yeah, I might just hold it. I have a lot louder voice than Jordy too, so if I'm being too loud, let me know. So I get to talk to you about the couple of projects and design that we have. The first one, sorry, this is not working. Yeah, what if we switch? Is the College of Vet Medicine, and so there is a new four-year program with the College of Veterinary Science, and they're hoping to start it in fall of 2025. So this building is planned to be completed in 2025. Right now, it's in the design phase. It is about done with design and getting ready to start construction soon. So this is one of the biggest construction projects the campus has ever done. And it will be a great resource with laboratory space and research space for this program. Right now, the students go to Washington to be able to complete the program. So this will allow them to do this in Utah. And it'll be one of the few schools in the region and the state that offers this program. So the next project we have starting is the roundabout projects on 1200 East. I'm sure many of you are aware of the congestion that happens along 1200 East. This project will help alleviate some of that congestion. There will be a roundabout on 850 East and, or excuse me, 850 North and then 10th North. And you can see that the second roundabout's kind of an oval or a figure 8 shape there. So it'll also help the intersection on 950 East too. So that'll help that. However, while this project is under construction, we just want to make you aware this next summer and spring that road will be closed where those roundabouts are being constructed. So there will be detours. So to get from 1200 East from 7th to 10th will be blocked unless you go down to 800 or take another route. So that's just kind of good to know. As part of the roundabout project, we have a new drought resiliency plan, and we are using that plan to create some water-wise landscaping for the roundabouts and the park strips around the roundabouts. So it'll hopefully be something that's nice and aesthetically pleasing to the campus gateways. The next project Jordy can tell you about.
Okay, I thought I'd mention this one. It's a little smaller, but it is a great improvement to the TSC, and that is a new renovation for the Sky Room. So it's really going to be beautiful, and you can see that they've reconfigured it in a pretty major way. They had considered doing a patio, but I've just learned that that part was out of budget, so that part will not be done, but the windows will be replaced and the views will be quite beautiful, and everything else will be completely gutted and renovated. Next.
And talk about it real quick. So this last project that's under design is a new academic building for Monument Valley. This right now they're having classes and studying in an old hospital set, and so this will allow them to have a building specific for their needs. It'll include a computer lab, an area for nursing and CNAs, welding. The funding, part of it is from the state, and then the tribe also, the Navajo Nation tribe also just donated $500,000 toward the building. So hopefully this will be something that the people who live in the Four Corners region of the state will have access to education, and a lot of the distance learning programs will be offered there.
Yeah, this is a really cool project. One thing that is really making that project challenging is the fact that there's literally no water in the area. There's no, for construction, they're going to have to truck in the water and daily, and it's pretty expensive, but it's going to be great when it's completed. Very remote part of the state. All right, so now we'll switch gears a little bit to master planning. I'll just talk a little bit about the approach we have in master planning, and then a few projects that we have in planning that are likely to either have been funded or are requesting funding right now. So just an overview of master planning. This is, I don't know, a pretty big piece of what Katie and I do. And we oversee all the long range plans for each campus or system, and that includes, all the campuses we have statewide. We have Brigham City, Tooele, we have Kaysville, we have the Swanner, we have, I'm just going to try and list them all. The two Uinta Basin campuses and Moab, Landing, Price. What am I missing? Anyway, so we have master plans for all these campuses. We have master plan for the main campus, and then we also oversee master plans for specific programs or systems like housing, which we just completed. We also just completed a decarbonization master plan, which will hopefully get our campus to our carbon neutral goals. And then we have also, as Katie mentioned, just completed the landscape resiliency and drought plan. Pretty excited about that because there's some really major things that we can be doing in converting landscapes that are really not being utilized to more of a water-wise type. And then under proposed planning projects that are coming up for master planning, Katie's actually working really hard on a master plan composite map that we hope to have as an interactive piece on our website eventually. We are hoping to complete a master plan for both Swanner Eco Center and the new Bastion Center that we've recently received as a major gift from the Bastion family. Okay, and then we also do what we call district planning. Some people call this precinct planning. This provides a lot of specificity to our current master plan, and it's been a pretty effective model for us because when we see projects coming, for instance, when we learned about all the projects coming in the South Campus, we immediately will undertake a district planning exercise so that we can bring all the stakeholders to the table. We can gather input, we can make sure everybody's voice is heard before decisions are made around where a building's going to go or where a building should go. And so these district plans have been, we're using them. They're not plans that sit and gather dust. They're highly utilized plans that where we have projects phased in usually 3 different phases. And we bring this also to administration, make sure we have institutional buy-in for the plans. So recently completed was our Central Academic Core District Plan, again, trying to address what's going on here. The East Gateway District Plan in 18, which helped us make some decisions around current projects there that have recently been completed. And then we are looking at updating the North District Plan. We've got a lot of stuff happening here. We've got changing leadership with athletics. So we're going to be replanning a part of that. And then we would like to do a concerted effort around student services. Next slide. When we were talking about master plans a second ago, I just wanted to show that this is where we've been doing master planning. And so you can see that, USU has a very broad statewide influence. Next slide. Okay, and then just a few more slides about the projects we have in planning. Pretty excited to announce that this project just recently was funded. This, we did just build the HR building, but now we're planning to add on to it. This actually was the way it was master planned. It did come forward a little faster than we thought it would, but it's pretty exciting because it's going to allow us to give HR a brand new home where they can expand and do some of the things they've been trying to do for many, many years in their current building. It just hasn't been possible. And then it's also going to allow us to move some units out of that really old building, the ECOB building, the old motel, and demolish that building, which is, it's one of a couple buildings that we have been trying to take out of our inventory for a while. Just it's in very, very poor condition, not worth fixing. Okay, this one just recently was funded as well. This is kind of a cool project down by the water lab. I don't know if you're familiar with where the Smash Lab is sitting over there. The water lab's here, and then we have a couple other buildings a little further west. The orange is where we're going to add on. It's really just kind of a warehousey facility, but this new Utah Earthquake Engineering Center is a new program. It's received a lot of grant money, and I know the researcher just received a pretty major award. So this is going to be a cool thing that Utah State University can add into the engineering program. This is the big one that we've actually been trying to get funding for quite a few years now. Sometimes in planning, it can take a long time. Like, we will request projects like this, and then often we'll have to revise them several times before they get funded. There's some projects like life sciences and B&R that were like this, that literally took, sort of 5 to 8 years before we finally got them funded. So we're still working pretty hard to get this funded. It's a beautiful building on the quad. We want to do a full historical renovation of it. And it has a lot of code issues. The roof is timber. It's really, really bad. We've already had one fire in this building. This building has no air, has no HVAC. It's just basically old steam heat and no AC. So hoping to keep the beautiful historic quality of this building while improving the interior to modern standards. And then I just wanted to mention these few resources we have for you. If you are trying to get information about projects, we have this facilities construction map for current projects, and we try to keep that up to date. You can click on sections of campus to see what those projects are for information. That's right on the main facilities webpage. And USU master plans, all those plans I was talking about are right on our website. And if you really want some, you really need some extra reading, you can pull those up. Our website's is under redevelopment right now, and so we're hoping that those resources become even more developed. And one thing we want to do is provide more photos and things so that people can see what these projects are going to look like and what the goals are a little more effectively than, right now. It's just kind of a little bit of a narrative and not much more than that, but at least you can get information here. All right, and then I guess that's it for us. We can go to the last slide. Apparently you can sign up for some drawings and things.
Yes, if you look for this out, not only, could you do questions?
Oh, yeah. We have 10 more minutes for questions, so we're happy to entertain. Yeah.
So, I work in military science, and it sounds
Mhm.
There hasn't been anything really done on it since. They're planning on doing an HVAC remodel, but they're not fixing any of the windows. And I'm really curious as to why that was not part of, I mean, because if we get central air, then we take out all of the individual air conditioning units that are in the windows, there's gonna be cardboard or wood in the windows where all those air conditioners are. And even my 15-year-old asked if they were gonna replace the windows when they did this, and when I asked them, they said no, and I'm like, well, what's the point? Because you're gonna have all this new system and all to go right out the window cycle.
Yeah. No, that's a great question.
And then, you know, the whole remodel stuff, I'm like, I'm curious as to why they're doing an HVAC remodel and not doing the remodel. It seems like
Okay.
it's-
I can answer that part, actually. So I don't know why they didn't include the windows, but I think that's a question I can ask our director. I haven't been too involved in that project myself, but they're doing it through capital improvement funding. So we have several different ways we can do funding for projects, and capital improvement money is limited. Like, we couldn't just do a full building renovation with that. We have to do stuff piecemeal. The problem with military science, I think, is that we could put it forward as a capital development project, but it would have to be higher in the pecking order. I mean, there's a lot of projects kind of up ahead of it in our 5-year plan. Yeah, so that comes, that basically comes down from our administration and what the priorities for projects are. And that's not something that we establish in facilities, but usually the president, there's a committee, like a higher level planning committee, that reviews all requests. So I know that what they do is they can take any and all requests that departments and colleges have for for funding for capital development projects. And they did actually do an outreach for that about 6 months or so ago. So I know they kind of have a running list, and I'm not sure if military science was on there. But that is something, if your college or department wants to get in on a capital development list, contact Dave Cowley, our vice president, Dave Cowley. He kind of manages that process.
Also, so capital improvement money, maybe they can only use so much at a time. But for example, this year, if they update the HVAC, then maybe in a year or two, they can update the windows. So they may not be able to do it all at once, but they may be able to do it over a couple years. So, right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Elevator, all of our classes on the second floor, so can't even have visitors when they have their graduation stuff.
One thing, I don't know who your vice president is or who your dean is, but we can only get capital development funding for EMG programs, so academics. So there's really, it's through chat. So you're through CHAS. Yeah, it would have to go through CHAS. And your dean would have to be, requesting that. And I think that is a good thing to bring up. We can do a couple different things. Like in planning, we can do a study for the building to look at. So typically when we do building condition assessments for buildings, we look at different ways of funding it. And some of them have to be piecemeal, and some of them can go forward as these bigger. For instance, animal science is probably like a $30 million. But like Katie said, capital improvements can be allocated in chunks for multiple years. So. Yeah, that has to be done. If you you have to be able to enclose the building. So I think I would just have to ask my director that question. So. Okay, any other questions?
We have a question.
Okay.
About 6 years ago, that I heard of a plan to build a new student center. Is that or is it?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing right now is that that the decision is to renovate the current TSC instead of building a new building. When we did study that, I think it was back in 2014, and at that time, it would have been about a $90 million project. And as Katie just mentioned, our largest project we've ever had funded, and this is for a brand new college, is 75 million. So like it's so far out of what can be funded. That would actually have to be funded with student fees and couldn't be funded with capital development. So it just became really, really difficult to see how that could, that could come about. So in the last few years, our vice president and the AVP over auxiliaries has been studying the building from the standpoint of kind of what I just talked about with you, like a piecemeal upgrading of the building over time. One of the first pieces being that sky room. So unfortunately, I mean, we would have all loved to have a new TSC. It just would be so nice. Just a lot to put on the backs of students. So other questions? Yes.
The north wing of BNR was completely south, and they're fixing the exterior. Is the interior of that going to be remodeled? And then my second question is, I keep hearing engineering of the bursting of the seams. Are they in that hierarchy?
Yeah, those are good questions. So as far as BNR, we have funding only to do the exterior of the building. I was actually involved with a bunch of renovations for that part of the building about 20, maybe 15 to 20 years ago. They, at that NR at that time, got a bunch of donations. And so some of those areas have been updated, some of the labs, but it's just very piecemeal. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And I do think though that, there are parts of that could go forward as capital improvement projects, smaller pieces, things like updating the restrooms and the stair towers and stuff like that, where we can look at code issues that are associated with those things. And so that I think will continue to be a priority. We've actually done a lot of piecemeal funding for BNR over the years. There is a lot of needs for that building. So that is all I know there. As far as engineering, I don't know. I don't have that big master list. I don't know what their college requested. I know of a couple little projects to improve restrooms over there because that building is woefully inadequate. The old, yeah. And so they've been working on those projects. They're probably going to be eligible again for capital improvement money. But capital improvement is also a great big list, and some of the projects have been on there for many, many years. So we do what we can with the 20 million that they give us a year, but it has to go for all of our sort of 9 million square feet that we have on all of our campuses. So any other questions? Yeah. I think it's going out to bid here in the next maybe month-ish. I just got a notice for review, maybe a month or two. So I think it could be starting very soon, maybe even this summer, I hope. So, yeah.
Is this still going to seat as many people? It's like all these new things are all like, I'm not a fan of the whole straight line. But it seems like there's like a whole bunch of windows in those spaces, seat a bunch of people, and it looks like there's a lot of seating there.
Yeah, I wish I knew a little more about that project.
You can see the seating plan there on the right. I don't know if I mean, it's in design, so it could change, but,
Yeah. This is,
So is that like an enclosed room for like private parties and stuff to have in there, so it's closed off? Is that what that is?
This was going to be an outdoor space and now it's not, so I'm thinking this is probably gonna change right here.
It's still under design. They don't have it.
It says 90 seats. I don't know how many were there in before. Is it 90?
Or 90 feet.
Hard to see that.
You're 90 feet in the restaurant and 23 seats on the deck, but then they didn't have the budget for that. So
I think
probably around,
it's
it can be around 80 or 90.
about the same square footage anyway. I think it's just being kind of, been getting a refresh of, see, now you're asking me all the questions about projects. I should have, I will have to ask the project manager. Yeah, so I can ask, if you want to email me, I can ask the project manager those questions for you. I don't, because Kitty and I kind of stay at this kind of zoomed out planning level. We don't know all the details of every project, but I appreciate the questions, so. Anything else? We do, yep.
And then my second question, is there ever an audit?
Mhm.
And we've been looking at what can we use in the new building now, just for the really full, like full of furniture. And so I wondered if that ever happened as part of master plan. Like who's not using it?
Yeah, that's a good,
Or there's some-
it's a really good question about space. There's another process that manages space. We have the Space Management Committee. Recently, well, up until about 2 days ago, it's been under the Provost's office. And we've just learned, just yesterday, that that is going to change to be under our Vice President, Dave Calley. And so while Facilities has always had presence for the Space Committee, because we have to kind of determine feasibility of different projects and changes, we don't dictate who gets what. That kind of comes more from our leadership. But I do think if you have requests for space, there is a process to formally request space. And if you see space that looks available, we can help you find out who is assigned that space. So if you want to email me and just ask who is assigned these rooms, I can tell you which department or college it's under. And then you can approach them or if it seems like something can be worked out, approach the Space Committee with a formal request for space. So, all that stuff's online. I don't have the link right here, but you can find it pretty easily. I think usually what they want, if it's a change across departments, they want the departments to talk together first and then go ahead with your space request. Yeah. I mean, we don't have the capacity to police the space. We just don't have the personnel to do that. But I do think that on the Space Committee, there's a space rep from each college. And if that space rep has concerns or needs or can offer space back, that's kind of a continual conversation happening. So.
And we're at time, if you have more questions, you can probably come up and ask them directly during the break. But feel free to remember to fill out the survey. Not only does that give us feedback for next year, but you also can win some really good prizes. But thank you, Jordy and Katie. We will.
Thank you.